All right. This is a difficult one. I think I've got a couple problems and I'm going to talk about them today. And they're kind of hard to talk about. All right. So, why haven't I been posting? This is a really. It's a difficult one to talk about now. I guess you could probably say, hey, there's just a bit of discipline problems, which I definitely have at the moment. But I've been reflecting, like, why haven't I been doing this? I've got things I want to talk about. I've had them for months, if not longer, well past last year, even probably the start of last year. Anyway, I haven't been posting, and I think the reason why I've let all this be neglected, even thinking about the big hiatus I had, besides being fairly burnt out at a time, and then trying to focus more on family and not like take all my time up of doing all these, software things and that, right? Because like to give some context, some history, if you haven't listened to any of the previous podcast episodes, in the past I would work full time as a software engineer, doing all the things. Then I'd run my own business part time. I'd do side projects. I ran meetup groups, a whole bunch of stuff like that. And eventually I started Coder Catch Up. So I was doing all these things. This was like doing all this stuff, and I was constantly engaged and constantly doing all the things. And I feel like I got to a point where I got into this perfection trap. Very easy to do. I see other people doing it. I try and coach them out of it, even including like my family life. My daughter is very much a perfectionist at times. But I'm finding myself, I'm putting probably too much pressure on myself to create this like perfect, like really good kind of thing rather than just doing it and getting it out there. How I kind of come to that realization as one part of the problem that I've got going on is I have these topics, and I started like writing them out and writing scripts and things like that, which is complete opposite of who I am. I don't script anything. If you listen to any of the podcasts in the past, they're one take. I do not really edit them. I don't really cut things out like ums and ahs. I just let it flow. And if I did make a mistake, I would actually like re-record the whole thing. But most of the time I'd do like one, maybe two recordings of it, and that would be it. But I would never prepare. Like I might have some like notes here that I want to look at, or if I was sharing my screen, I'd have stuff ready to go just so I can optimize that flow of like creating the actual content. But I found that I was starting to get into this mode of where I had to just write something out and have it really, really good. And I was like, oh, maybe I should go and get a prompter and all that kind of stuff. And that's just not me. Like I am very much an off-the-cuff person. I talk from my experience, things that are on my mind, think it, say it sort of thing. Now, I'm not saying I don't prepare for things, but it's just more so I don't go from a script. I'm not that kind of person. I like things just to be free form and flow. So I feel like I've been getting into that issue, and that's not good. That's something I do not want at all. And so I've got to get out of that. And this video, I'm literally just recording this. I did do one take before, but I kind of got sidetracked. And I'm like, whatever. I'll just call that as a dud, just getting the nerves out. So again, this is just a one take sort of thing. And I am just going through it. So getting rid of the perfection thing. So I'm just going to literally record and edit and off it goes. That's kind of how I'm going to get around that. See how we go. I've really got to get past this. The other aspect, which this one's the really difficult one to talk about, and I'm probably overthinking things. That something I do as a person. I tend to overthink a bit. Is I feel like I'm going through a little bit of an identity crisis in terms of my professional career. Now, I love my job and all that kind of stuff. I love being an engineering manager. But the problem I'm having at the moment, which I think is like, again, maybe it's related to this perfectionism thing, is it's kind of stopping me from doing this, is I feel like I'm in this weird sort of space at the moment. So I spent like about 20 years of my life, professional life, coding. So I've coded for a long time. I've been writing software for a long time. But I switched gears. So I went to an engineering manager track, essentially taking this bit of a career path change a couple of years ago. And I feel like I'm still really early on in the process, which I am. Like there's so much I've got to learn, so many mistakes I've got to make to learn from, all that kind of stuff. But I think the problem with, I've got these ideas of topics from that side of things that I'm interested in. I feel like, I don't have enough experience to talk about these, but I've found from talking with other new engineering managers, even some other engineering managers who've been in the game for a while, like I'm still able to provide value and have some good conversations to start some good discussions, things like that. But I think that was holding me back a little bit, is like, oh, I don't have the experience, I can't talk about it, which is complete falsehood. Like I've always said to everyone I've met who wants to talk about something, like at meetup groups, for example, like they're like, oh, I don't really, this is stuff that people will know. It's like, you'd be surprised how many people actually don't know this thing, and just hearing it from someone else might be helpful, or the fact that they may need to hear it from a few different people will be like, oh, actually, really, this is something that I should listen to, or, investigate or whatever. So there's that side of things. Then the other side is like a part of this identity crisis is I've been off the tools now. Some jobs as an engineering manager, you have to be more hands-on, or you get to be more hands-on. With the past two positions I've been in, I have been fairly hands-off. I've been able to write some code, but really not a lot. And from someone who spent most of their career writing code up until recently, it's a couple of years in engineering management, I'm somewhat removed from the tools. I feel like writing software is a perishable skill. Like there's foundations that you'll learn and know, but stuff slips over time, and I feel like I've lost a bit of that because I haven't been doing any of the things I used to do, like side projects and things like that, that I do in my spare time, or whatever it might be. So I feel like I've slipped there, and I feel like, maybe my knowledge is waning and I'm missing out on a bunch of things because there's all this new tech exploding. It's coming out. It's pretty awesome. It's like an awesome time for writing software and things like that. Not just AI, but like everything else, all these other services and platforms and stuff that's coming out. So I feel like I'm sort of like losing my skills there, and maybe it's not so relevant. But again, I think this is a falsehood, because the more people I talk to about things, they seem to, like in my day job and outside of work, like it seems like there is some value there. So I don't think there's that issue. So there's that. The other side, I guess, to touch on that, which might be the third problem, is I don't know if I'm letting my skills drop too much. Now, what I mean by that is that, like, predominantly the last kind of bit of coding I did, besides at Canva, like when I first started, I was writing some Java, but before that, it was like primarily Ruby on Rails, right? So Ruby World, a little bit of Node, and a lot's changed in those couple of years. Like I haven't got to use all the latest hotness, right? All the cool, sexy stuff like Hotwire. I haven't really got to use much of that. So I'm feeling like I'm at this position now where I can kind of do a bit of a reset in terms of like my defaults, right? Like my default is Ruby on Rails. I'm very productive in it, all that kind of stuff. But there's all this other tech that's super exciting. Like looking at the T3 stack, I built some stuff last year with T3. That was really exciting. Did some more with Next.js. I've been playing around with Astro. Changing up my approach to using like BEM with the SCSS, like the SAS approach to writing CSS, and switching that up with Tailwind. Been doing a bunch of that, and I'm just rethinking my stack. So I'm thinking like, cool, if I'm going to get, spend more time in coding, like, do I rethink? Do I actually step away from Ruby on Rails? Like, it's still a fantastic platform, a framework. It's great. And again, there's the whole thing of like sticking with what you're productive at. But at the same time, I feel like I'm in that space where, because I'm not hands-on as much, I'm trying to upskill more in Java, because that's still fairly new to me. But I've got a chance that I don't have to rely on that. So it's more of an opportunity for me to experiment with other things. Like, do I go back and spend a bunch more time with Elixir? Do I get back into Go and really learning more about that, besides, creating one tiny little thing? So all these thoughts are going through my mind as well, as like, do I need to go down that path if I want to talk about more technical stuff? But I think just keeping up to date with that kind of stuff is really important. Now I'm listening, I'm reading, all that kind of stuff, but I'm not like practicing. I'm not putting any of this stuff out into production. So I think there's some things I need to do there that will just make me feel a bit more confident. I don't think it's going to change the outcome of my thinking or anything like that, but it probably will. Like, the more you experiment around with something, you learn something new, etc. Always be learning, right? So I think that's the path I got to go, is like just experiment with something new and doing that. Plus, I think a lot of these new platforms and technologies, frameworks, etc., it's a lot cheaper to run. The one downside, and one thing I really don't like about Ruby is it can be expensive to run and a bit of a pain to set up. I really want to, like, I'm at that point where I just want to like have a platform as a service and be able to ship to that. Like, yes, Heroku's there, etc., and there's some other ones, but they're pretty costly. Where I can run like Vercel and some other DBs. I mean, could use PlanetScale, but they don't have a free tier anymore. Although, you know, that whole PlanetScale thing, I think the pricing is pretty good, really, for what you get for their new. They got rid of the free plan. They got the pay plan. It's pretty good. Anyway, there's other alternatives for getting a fairly affordable DB up. So yeah, maybe that's the way to go. I can start a whole bunch of projects for a very low amount of costs. You know, we recently had a second child last year, and you know, costs add up, things add up. So I don't want to be running too many side projects like I used to, and you know, you're looking at that bill and it's thousands of dollars extra a year later. Yeah. So anyway, I'm waffling on as I do. Anyway, so this is just a kickoff video for me to actually start doing things again. So hopefully this will build that momentum for me actually getting the thing done, and maybe I just need to give myself a little bit of accountability, a little bit of discipline to actually just doing the things that I got and creating it a simple way for me to just quickly get out and do these videos. Anyway, now I've got that off my chest. Hopefully this will be the start of continuing something new and getting back into the swing of things. Anyway, if you've lasted this whole video, awesome, thank you. Leave your comments and things like that. Always keen to hear from people. It's great to hear from them. I used to love it when I'd get like messages on Twitter with Coder Catch Up stuff. Anyway, that's it. Awkward finish, but I'll hopefully catch you very soon in the next one. Bye.